Greetings everybody, and welcome to another day of landscape photography. Now today is another slightly frustrating day. I'm still in the Lake District National Park, and I've got lots of sunshine, and yes, I'm getting all defensive, and scattered cloud. Now, I'm not complaining because it's just a beautiful place to be in. I'm at Tarn House today, having a bit of a wander about, getting on a little bit of a workshop recce. Been here several times before. I think I probably need to come here and properly have a wander around in the autumn, because there's definitely potential here, but for me it's frustrating potential. I think it's one of those places that I probably need to absorb a little bit to really kind of work out what's going on. So what I want to talk to you today is about layers in the landscape, and how a day like today, where you've effectively got spots of light moving over the landscape, how that can be used to create both depth and mood in your images. Now, it is written that generally the eye is drawn to the brightest element within a picture, and it doesn't matter whether it's a photograph or a painting or embroidery, or it really doesn't matter. The eye will be drawn to the brightest part of the image. Now, on a day like today, that's actually something that you can use to your advantage, especially as the light is forever changing. So I'm going to move from this camera to my Olympus, and I'm going to do that very deliberately, because as the light changes, I want to kind of talk to you about how that scene changes, both for the good and for the bad, just to kind of give you guys a little bit of a few pointers, I guess, how, so that on a day like this, you can actually go out in the landscape and look for those opportunities to create what are hopefully really interesting images. So let's move to the big camera, my Olympus OMD EM1 Mark III, and I'll talk you through what's going on as the light changes and what's working and what's not. Quite conveniently, at the point at which I started to record this, quite neatly, I've got some layers. So we just put this on manual focus to stop it from refocusing. There we go. Right, so where's my finger? The moving finger. I'm zoomed in quite a lot, so my finger will be quite blurry. So I have a dark layer here, which arguably drifts out the edge of the frame. So I would probably recompose that. But then I have this bright layer here, and then a dark layer, which I think that's the Old Man of Coniston right there. And then beyond it, you can just see some patches of light on the hills beyond. So I've actually got, in this particular scene right now, 1, 2, 3, 4 layers. Now the eye is going to be drawn immediately to this layer, this one in the middle, and ideally I'd want it to be drawn to that layer in the background as well. Now conversely, you could switch it round and you could have this brightly lit, but then I think you'd want that middle layer there indistinct, this pointy conical peak to be illuminated, and then the background to be all dark and moody and horrible. Now I've chosen this particular scene specifically because I've got some low-level cloud here moving over the fells. So there's there's a bit of mood and a bit of interest, and I don't know, maybe even thinking black and white. There's where's my finger? There's a layer of dark cloud up here. This is a 16:9 frame, so it would probably come up a little bit, and it would be a wee bit lower. I'm definitely going to have to, oh that's better, have to watch that bottom layer. There we go, that bottom layer is a little bit more comfortable for me right now, because I'm being brought into the frame and then it rises back up again. It's very subtle, but that just stops the eye from being taken out of this edge of the frame. And I think that one there being flat is probably just enough to stop that from happening there. I've still got this shadow pattern here. I'm starting to get some light beyond, and I'm getting some light. Let me just move the finger up above. Where is it? I'm getting some light, whoops, there. I could just do with some equal light here, and maybe this middle one, this cone shaped mountain not being quite so prominently lit. But do you see what I mean? This piece here, this piece of the fells, that provides a base for the image, a base for the content, a foundation if you like. This is the item of interest, as is hopefully the mountain beyond, all covered in cloud. This then acts, this middle one, this cone-shaped one, then just acts as a foundation for what sits beyond these two peaks on the end. Also, the eye then is being drawn into the frame. It has depth. I quite like the fact that this one here now has a little bit of light on it. That again adds interest and depth. I'm not sure I can actually take images whilst it's recording video, which is a little bit of a shame. But hopefully you get the point. Now it's just a waiting game, waiting for the light to cooperate. Now if I twizzle the camera around and up, you can see there's a dark patch of cloud there moving across the landscape. And the clouds are all around me, moving around. I'm just going to put this back as it was. Where's my little, there it is. And it's just a waiting game. Just having that idea in your head and then just being patient and allowing the light to change and grabbing the moment as it changes. Now, one good tip, or a couple of tips from me, use manual focus, simply because when the light is right, you don't want the camera to suddenly try and refocus on the focus point. And then I would also use a cable release, not a 2-second timer or anything like that. I would normally use a 2-second timer because I'm on the end of a zoom lens, and I'm just very, very gently tapping the end of the lens, and you can see there it's moving. So I would use a cable release, so I'm completely hands-free off the camera, and just waiting for that optimum moment and then hitting the shutter button. So I'm going to stand here very patiently and wait for this lovely combination of light, which I'm sure is going to happen. Really, I'm sure. Let's see. So here you've got a slightly different principle in progress, and this time we've got trees, and my frame was actually sort of more there, predominantly because of this tree here with its bright trunk. Cutting the trunk off just didn't sit well with me, so the bottom of my frame was about there, and then the top of the frame would be sort of up here somewhere. And it's a shame now the light's moved, but what I had was this line here, complete with these trees all silhouetted. Then the popular shape of the Langdale pikes in the distance, and this is the base. Then I had this fell here, which I can't name. No, I'm not even going to attempt to try and name it. But anyway, you've got the Langdale pikes in the distance, a nice familiar shape. Oops, sorry, not the tripod. But it's the same idea, but using a different feature in the landscape to try and promote the same idea. Try to create a foundation for the image and then use layers of light to draw the viewer into the scene, rather than just consider it as a two-dimensional flat item of interest. And it's the kind of thing that I look for on a day like today. Get up high somewhere, try and find some moving light on the fells and just look for the potentials. On a day like today, it's very worthwhile having a long lens so that you can zoom in on items within the landscape. If I was to zoom out, let me zoom out on this one. Yeah, absolutely stunning scene. Don't get me wrong, it's beautiful. But is it really going to make, is it going to make a fantastic image? I'm not so sure. I think there's an awful lot to look at, and I think the viewer's eye is basically casting around looking for something to lock onto. You could argue that it will lock onto the Langdale Pikes, but then I actually think, there was a spot of light down here that was quite prominent, but I think the eye would be drawn out to the fells beyond, and there's nothing particularly prominent enough to draw the eye in. So this is where zooming right in and using the layers of light just really, really works. And there we go. Look at that. Perfect. Foundation, slightly different coloured layer there, Langdale Pikes, and the sky in the background. Sorry, not the tripod again. Lovely, lovely scene. Love it. So, two separate situations where I'm using a combination of patches of light as well as the features in the land to try and encourage the viewer to look deeper into the scene. I know potentially it's not for everybody. I know some landscape photographers who are a lot more technical than me. They look for foreground, midground and background, and won't take the image unless they've got those three elements. I have to admit, I think minimum I'd probably look for two, probably a foreground and a background, or a base and a main subject, a main player, a main actor, if you like. I'm stood next to my camera because I'm watching the scene in front of me, and it's forever changing. And I think it's going to be one of those views that I'm going to struggle to tear myself away from, because it's changing so quickly. In fact, the fell that was in front, the one that was in shade, that's now fully lit. So I'm wondering whether the moment has gone, but I'm going to keep watching it anyway. So look, I hope that was interesting. I hope it's been useful. If you have enjoyed this content, please do consider giving the video a thumbs up, give it a like. And if you're not a subscriber, then please do consider subscribing. It's free and you can unsubscribe at any time. If you do hit the subscribe button, also hit the bell button alongside, and then hit the option all, because then you'll get notified as to when new content is uploaded, which is every 2 weeks for me. In fact, I publish in the header the dates that I'm going to publish on at 6 p.m. UK time. So until the next one, everybody stay well and stay safe, keep out of trouble, keep exploring with your camera, and until the next one, cheerio. I'm going to stay here for a few minutes and... No, I'm not. I can't decide. I really can't decide. There's a patch of shadow over there. I'm going to wait for that and then I'm going to go.